We got at the very end of December, we gonna have that Santa Claus rally, and then the markets are generally looking pretty good. We've got some good COVID news, all that kind of stuff, and so I'm hoping for a strong finish into the end of the year. So thanks again for everybody who's tuning in here. We'll wait for a few people to get in and on board. But for those of who don't know me and maybe heard a little bit of some of the advertising that's been going around, I pretty much just had my best trading series of weeks ever, and every piece of information and news that we've been putting out through emails and stuff have all been incorrect because every day my accounts changed for me. So this last one, 88% account growth in 10 days. Well, what it actually turned out to be, if you can see here, what I took a screenshot of a little bit of a preview of the actual presentation that I'm doing. I wish I could make this bigger, but what it actually came out to be for one of my accounts was 102% in 12 days. I even had another account that did 112% in 12 days, and then my Roth, which is usually the slowpoke of the group, did 70%. And this is all just stock. All of it's just stock. So those of you who, if you want to trade options, great, you can trade options, but I can do this kind of stuff with just stock, and it's just been a record 12 trading days, which was basically the course of 3 weeks, starting November 10th when I came back from a road trip. So just wanted to show everybody that. If you guys don't know me, if you don't know, who I am, this is a good opportunity to kind of see what I'm up to, how I do things, and if you guys want to see the kind of trading that I do, I'm going to be showing it all and showing you where the hot sectors are. That's kind of a little bit of a preview today with the state of the market, but tonight at 7 p.m. Central, you can see here, I'm going to get a full hour. It's probably going to be like an hour and a half that we actually get in there, dive deep. I'm going to show you the sectors that I think are really moving, where I made the money, how I did it, and kind of where I think we're going to be going from here on forward. And I think that there's still a lot of meat left on that bone. So yeah, Chris, yeah, exactly. Looking forward to seeing you guys out there and everybody else in the webinar. So be sure to come check it out, sign up here. And as I said, I kind of laugh. Every piece of marketing that we've been putting out has been incorrect as soon as the next day hit because I was on a 12-day winning streak, which today I think I finally got broken with that little bit of a pullback that we got this morning. I basically ended just maybe like 1% down on my accounts, but it definitely wasn't the blowout days that I've been getting for 12 days in a row. So pretty freaking amazing and a lot of fun, and all the subscribers had a really good time. We were seeing people averaging anywhere from 50% to 70% account gains it just trading stock or trading whatever they do, following the trades that I put out there. And even if you're new to trading, you don't need to know how to trade in order to just follow directions. I guess I left this one up there. Yeah, Nova's going to be one of the ones that we talk about. All right, so where are we at with the market? This is the thing that I always like to do, kind of a top-down understanding of the market, where things are going. We've kind of going back just a little bit because we need to understand a little bit of history in order to know where we are going forward. This is the coronavirus vaccine news when it came out from Pfizer, I believe. Now we have 3 companies that have said that they have 90 to 94% efficacy for the vaccines. Great. Okay, good to hear that. Market likes to hear this. Since then, I saw a bounce off the hourly 50, which makes sense. And then in through here, I had a lot of people asking me, hey, are we going to be going down? Is this going to be a problem? Do we need to short it? I said, nope. I think we're going to keep going up. This is technically a trampoline move. So those of you who don't know me and don't know my kind of trading, a trampoline move is one of my best setups. It's when price is below the 50, but the Moxie indicator is still above 0, which is a high pressure, high buoyancy type situation. And then here on the 15, you can see your double bottom, and then the Moxie indicator was moving up as well. And that told me I think we were going to keep going. Now, today's pullback, a little bit of a liquidation break. I think you guys probably all felt it. And welcome back from the holiday. Hopefully that woke you up a little bit. Right out of the gate. Right out of the gate, we had it below the 15-minute 50, and we just kind of went down. Now, the bottom didn't fall out yet. We don't know what tomorrow is going to look like, and I can show you a little bit there. But this we all felt. My account was down pretty big at one point in the morning, and then it all came right back because the market moved back up. So what I'm looking at is here on the hourly chart, price was too far away from the hourly 50, and so far all it did was come back down to the hourly 50. And then what you can see here is price was too far away from the daily 8 EMA, and all it's done is come back to the 8 EMA. So these are some things that I can see that, hey, I think it's going to be working out best. Just give a little bit more time. I think the market kind of needs to get itself figured out just a little bit. And the only other risk I see is that price could be running into the underside of the 15-minute 50 with the Moxie indicator below zero. So we just need to be prepared that the market might need to kind of digest some of this, might need to go do some sideways to down movements for a little bit. So just don't be surprised if we don't see a rip-roaring indexes coming up. Part of the other reason is if we go over to the IWM and we look here, we know that the IWM has been where all the winners have been since the coronavirus news, or the vaccine news, and that is right here. And you can see that ever since then, price has just been running the hourly 50 the whole time, and it's looking really, really great. So the concern with that is, as with anything, it gets a little bit too hot, a little bit too overheated, and we need to just be prepared that that is going to be making a move to the downside. Hang on just one moment. All right, sorry about that. Had to put the dog away because I got a mailman coming. All right, so with IWM being as high as it is, it's likely that it's going to have to be pulling back at some point. That's kind of what we're seeing. And then even that is going to have to, at some point, kind of, I think, move its way into other places. Look at the NASDAQ. So if we look here, the NASDAQ is actually doing pretty well. A lot of it is the fact that it just hadn't been going anywhere for quite some time. And so what we see here is it's just kind of been basing. And then you guys know my trampoline move again. Right here we had price below the hourly 50. And then you can even see on the 15, price down, Moxie indicator flat to slightly up. So I think, and I've been talking about this for a little bit, I think that where a lot of stuff is going to go is actually from the IWM into the NASDAQ, kind of going back into the old school big cap tech names, and I think that's where everything's going to be looking at. So kind of start looking back into a reversion into the old tried and true names once some of this vaccine news kind of subsides. So if we then kind of look around a little bit further, maybe we switch over to the UVXY. We'll kind of look into the VIX as well. And we're seeing just maybe a little bit of a blip here. Saw that this morning, a little bit of a blip. You know, maybe this thing is going to be putting into a double bottom. Maybe this is going to start getting some divergence. We've been seeing price down here and the Moxie indicator come up here. And a lot of this might be just, okay, we're getting something a little bit pent up, a little bit whatever. And the UVXY, which is basically the VIX, it's the leverage ETF of the VIX, is that we're going to see that maybe just a little bit of a pop. So just be prepared for that. That's what I'm talking about with the rest of the market. It's a little hard to say since there could be just a rotation of money coming from the small caps into the NASDAQ and vice versa. And so maybe UVXY doesn't actually do too much, but we do need to watch for it and make sure that nothing really starts perking up too much and starts giving us a warning shot. Now, if we look over to the dollar, and I believe the last time actually that I was talking about this as the state of the market and some of the other areas that I speak into is that we were looking at a double bottom. And you got to keep in mind that a double bottom is only a double bottom when it works. Otherwise, it's just a resting place until price goes lower. And what you can see here is we've been working on that double bottom situation and trying to figure out, is it going to hold and we're going to get the dollar to move up, or is it going to just rest, kind of rest in through here, and we're going to have price descend? Well, we finally have our answer clearly as price has been breaking the new lows and going down lower and lower. And so we're seeing a devaluation of the dollar. A lot of times that helps precious metals, which we are not seeing, and a lot of times it helps stock, which we are seeing. And what we're looking at through here Let me kind of zoom in on the hourly chart a bit, because in through here, you can see ever since we had this bounce, price has been running into the underside of these moving averages. The Moxie indicator has been below zero the whole time, and it just kind of keeps moving down, down, down. So I don't do too much with the dollar. If this is important to you, this is what I'm seeing is it looks like it's been breaking two new lows. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to be a smooth ride. There can definitely be some bounces along the way because maybe price is running into the lower third ATR on the daily chart. Maybe there's a bounce, but overall the trend looks to be down for the dollar. Now, with that, for dollar, come on, GLD, we look over to the precious metals. Boy, these things have just fallen off a cliff. I don't exactly know why or what's going on with it. I'm a little surprised. We've been seeing cryptocurrencies been perking up instead. So maybe the newer generation of investors are thinking that cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin, blockchain, Riot, all those related, maybe those are where people want to start putting their money. Now that PayPal and Square are starting to work with it and actually give it some some thumbs up as far as approval and saying that they're going to start working with it. But you can see here previous low and same thing. You're looking at this as a double bottom area. Well, a double bottom is only a double bottom when it works. Until then, it's just a resting area until price goes lower. And that's exactly what happened here. Now, don't be fooled. This is not too hard to be looking at this and saying, well, if either it's going to hold or it's not. You can look down at your lower time frames and find out that price is not holding any of those moving averages. And then, of course, I love the Moxie indicator. It's been below zero this whole time. So this is some of the stuff I'm going to be talking about in tonight's webinar. This is the Moxie indicator is the primary tool that I created, that I use, and it allows me to see inside of price and momentum. It shows me that something like this, not a good way to get into gold. Now, again, maybe there's going to be a bounce. Gold is getting awfully oversold. It's getting pretty down below all these moving averages. I'm surprised we actually went through the daily 200. And we are very far off the 8 EMA to the downside, and we are outside of the third ATR as well. We are pretty oversold, and we're very stretched here on the hourly chart from price to the hourly 50. So, if you're shorting this, great. I hope you've made some pretty good money on the way down, but I wouldn't be surprised if we're going to get just a natural bounce because it's getting into territory that is just oversold and could probably use a little bit of a bounce like that. All right, and then if we look at silver, you can see more or less the same thing. Maybe it's holding up just a little bit better, but kind of the same deal. And what we've been looking at here is kind of a different double bottom right there. So again, I wouldn't just buy it because it's at that double bottom. We have no confirmation that that's going to be working. And then we also have price coming up to the third ATR and very far off the 8 EMA, and we're getting pretty stretched on the hourly chart from the hourly 50. So maybe there's a bounce coming up someplace in here. The other thing that we've been seeing, now if we look over to USO, and I'm sure a lot of you have been looking into the oil stocks and oil related oil services, those stocks have been really taken off ever since, once again, IWM popping up since the vaccine news and has been coming out. And the idea behind that is if we have that vaccine and if people get back to normal life and if the economy gets back on track the way it was, things are humming along, well, we're going to be consuming more oil, more energy, more fossil fuels. And I think that this is the reason that we're starting to see a whole lot of attention into this sector is because the market is forward thinking. It's trying to say, all right, we know that a vaccine is going to happen eventually. We know that the economy is going to get back on track. We know that stuff is going to happen. And so they're thinking, okay, let's start now planning for the future. And that's why we're starting to see a lot of activity in these certain sectors. So be aware of that. Once again, with USO, it popped up, I believe that was right in here was the vaccine news. And then ever since then, been following the hourly 50 pretty darn well. So yeah, USO looking pretty good. Maybe a little bit overbought off the 8, outside of 30 ATR, all that kind of stuff. But overall, it's really trying to get someplace. Now let me show you one more thing with that. Because here, if you look at the weekly, and actually I think, let's do XLE. Yeah, we can see it much better with XLE. The USO is a little screwy in that case, but look here on the weekly chart. What has this all done? This has done that double bottom I talk about right there. See that? This has been so long in the making. It has been taking months to do this, and it's kind of interesting. I always find it very, very fascinating that how with the market, it's like, well, which came first, the chicken or the egg? You know, how do all these things work together? It's very mysterious, but also makes you scratch your head sometimes. Think about this: the price, oil, energy sector, all that kind of stuff came down here and sat right at a previous low, basically just waiting for that vaccine news to come out. And right when that vaccine news came out, it was poised and ready to go. And you can see that's when it then popped. So just keep in mind, later we look at some of the stuff, we look at history, and we never really know the exact news or current events that came out at that time. But you look at the charts tell you everything you need to know. Once again, maybe with XLE, you can see prices running into the underside of the weekly 50. So I'm sure we could be looking for a little bit of pullback before we get the next leg up. But overall, I think everything is looking pretty good. We're just having to get into that typical ebb and flow for what's going on here. Yes, Ian, I do definitely provide courses for beginners. So just head over to Simpler Trading, and you guys can look under my name for the courses that I teach. So yeah, we like to do that. We like to make sure everybody understands what we're doing and how to make money in the market. So XLE, same thing. Look at this. Ever since it started going, following the hourly 50, doing pretty well. Now today, it is starting to break the hourly 50. This is what I was saying. I think the market needs to take a little bit of a breather. The IWM, the small caps, they have been on a tear. And I think that they need to slow down for a little bit and just kind of catch their breath. If you look at the daily chart, look at this giant gap between price and the daily 50. Even here, price is just jumping off of these moving averages, and I think that they just need to come back down. Nothing to be panicked about, but we do need to just be prepared for this kind of pullback, wait for the market to come back up and give us that next leg. So maybe we look around at some of the tech sector. I know a couple names like Okta, and actually let me switch over to a little bit bigger chart. Look at this. Looking pretty good, aren't they? So that's the thing. There's always a bull market someplace, and you just need to know where it is. For me, well, I was able to double my account using just stock in 12 days, and I did that with some of these new names, EV sector, solar, some of the Bitcoin, all that kind of stuff. Just one more time in case anybody doesn't remember or who's jumping in. This is where you guys, it's simplertrading.com/trampoline. And that's where you guys can come tune in tonight and find the webinar for me talking about how I did all that. But I think that there are new sectors where the money is rotating into, and I think it's going to be somewhere in the tech. Think big tech. Think of those COVID names. Maybe 2.0, something like that. There's your double bottom right through there. Price got back over these moving averages, and they're starting to look pretty good again. We do have some earnings coming up, so just kind of be aware of that. But overall, I think this is where we're looking. Apple, some of the big names, they look like they're doing fine. Really, the biggest thing is they just wanted to go sideways for a long time. They never fell apart. They just traded sideways. You can see here, just going sideways. And it looks to me like they're starting to finally catch a little bit of a bid and want to get going. So start looking around for that as far as a way to have money rotate around. And Amazon, looking again at these big tech names, things that really, really benefited from the COVID situation, and they got put on pause for a little bit now that the vaccine news came in. It was actually very interesting to look at this and to think that some of the biggest and best names that were doing so well over the last few months actually got hammered the hardest once the vaccine news came out. And you're like, what? And it makes sense. All the names that had been beat up for quite some time couldn't get going anywhere, and they needed a vaccine in order to get back on track. Yeah, they're the ones that succeeded over the last few weeks. We hopped on board for those, and then money's going to rotate around. It's going to come back into where the old tried and true names, and I think that's kind of where we're starting to look at again. The one sector got too hot. Let's move away from that and then start getting back into these other names. So I think that pretty much covers it for today and for the state of the market. As I said, I think the market overall could use a little bit of a break. I think that the money is going to be rotating around, so let's look for the next leg up, and then maybe once the small caps kind of cool off a little bit, it'll be time to get back into them whenever that is. So hang on to your hats. It's always a fun and exciting ride in the market. And once again, for anybody who wants to know how I just doubled, again, it's amazing, doubled my account in 12 days. Like as I said, even all of our registration stuff is antiquated because every day for 12 days I was hitting a new high and a new record, doubled the account in 12 days using just stock. So looking forward to seeing all of you guys. Really always happy and excited to be doing this and sharing the time with you. And we'll have a fun time going through that, and I'll show you where the sectors are that I was able to see and what we can do. All right, everyone, you take care, and I'll see you in a few hours. Thanks again.